This game kind of sucks, and I feel bad saying that. I really wanted Callisto Protocol to be fantastic. I'm a big lover of survival horror, and honestly, I love those spooky games that have you creeping through hallways and trying to save that one last bullet. But sadly, this isn't really survival horror. It's not really anything other than a very janky project, but I want to talk about the good and the bad. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, this is my brutally honest review for Callisto Protocol. Now, I do have to make a quick technical note. All of this gameplay was recorded on the PlayStation 5. Apparently, this game is totally busted on the PC, and honestly, it seems like even on the Xbox Series X, it's having a lot of bad frame rate issues. Only the PlayStation 5 version of this game runs even halfway decent, which is kind of shocking. But for this review, I want to divide it into three separate chunks. I want to talk about the story, I want to talk about the very controversial combat, and finally, I want to talk about the graphics and some of the weird choices they've made. Let's begin by briefly talking about the paper-thin story of Callisto Protocol, because honestly, the plot is practically non-existent. This dude is Jacob. That's who we're playing as. Now, Jacob's job is to drive freight through space. He's a space trucker. One day, while delivering a big shipment of medical supplies to this far-off planet, this moon called Callisto, it's got a prison colony on it, suddenly his ship goes down. Somebody tries to hijack it, it gets shot. Next thing you know, he's crashed and arrested. The warden of the prison decides to incarcerate him, to just file him into the system. And if that's not bad enough, suddenly, space zombies completely take over the complex. Now, for 99% of this game, you have no idea what's going on. Like, straight up, they don't explain what these creatures are, why you specifically got arrested, who these people are. There's a lot of people that call you up over the freaking intercom and go, hey, go unlock that door. None of this makes any dang sense. But honestly, I don't really have a problem with that. I think sometimes the best horror games kind of trap you in that fugue state. They keep you mildly confused so that you're uncomfortable. My problem comes down to this very strange combat. This game is mostly a brawler. You have guns, and they can be fired whenever you want, but most of this game is just about dodging and bashing people in the face with your stun baton. Anytime an enemy starts to get close to you, you get locked into this combat stance where basically you're trying to land the longest melee combos to kill these enemies before more show up. But the weirdness of this is the dodge system. Now, some people have said they completely hate this. I guess I don't particularly mind it. For some reason, Jacob is a martial arts badass. This guy straight up is dodging super strength creatures from beyond the grave like it's nothing. Whenever an enemy is starting to swing their fists, you press left or right on the joystick and it will automatically dodge. Once you've dodged, you can start to land special critical strikes. This might sound like it requires timing or special reaction speed or something like that, but really, no, it doesn't. You just literally hold left or hold right, and as long as you keep alternating directions, you can just dodge and dodge and dodge. Even if there's multiple enemies, you can just keep dodging them forever. It feels kind of bizarre to just be constantly shifting around so many enemy attacks because a lot of these guys are supposed to be big, gooey, crazy monsters, but they're kind of harmless. You can just straight up shirk past them so easily that it just doesn't even make sense. Even on normal difficulty, I very rarely used bullets. Now, you've probably noticed that sometimes in the middle of a melee combo, it will randomly pop up a targeting reticule. You can actually combo together your guns with your hits. So if you punch, punch, shoot, punch, punch, shoot. But almost never did I really use this because most of these guys I could kill so fast. Other than the tentacle guys. About 2/3 of the way through the game, or maybe halfway through the game, they introduce the idea of evolution, where these guys, whenever they start to get these little wormies coming out of their chest, you have to kill them as quick as possible. If they don't die in the next 5 seconds, they evolve in a super version of themselves. Now, typically, the way you do this is just save up your shotgun shells. If it really comes down to it, if you can't melee them down and finish them off, you shotgun them to make sure they're good and dead. But I guess to me, this all just feels so incredibly strange because honestly, these enemies from a design standpoint look fantastic. I think artistically, I like the fact that everybody looks like mutated plague victims. Some of these dudes straight up look like living beehives or something like that. I think that's incredibly cool, but they're so freaking harmless. I mean, why even waste a bullet on a guy that possibly can't even get to me before I'm going to melee combo him to hell? But let's talk about upgrades. So this game does not have very much exploration. There's a couple side paths, but it's not like there's side quests or any alternate objectives. It's very much like the original Dead Space. It's just point A to point B to point C. You're just basically like opening up a bulkhead and then trying to climb down an air shaft. It's very, very straightforward. But occasionally, in certain chapters, there will be a side path that typically leads to a supply box. Now, inside of these is stuff like med kits, it's more bullets, and it's also stuff you can sell at the shop. So occasionally, about twice a chapter, you come across these big storefronts, which use prison money. This planet, Callisto, for some reason pays everybody in just Callisto credits. It seems like even the prisoners have a bunch of Callisto credits. Now, spending this, you can, in a lot of ways, completely change the nature of some of your weapons. A lot of these upgrades are kind of useless in my opinion, because really, I don't care about how much clip or how fast I can reload my pistol because the shotgun is better. And really, the best weapon of all is just the standard stun baton. This is just such a melee-focused game. Put all of your points into extending your combo, unlock the heavy attack, and unlock more damage for your weapon. I maxed it out. I saved up every credit. I did every side little path I could. And once I maxed out my baton, I was bashing people to bits. But there's also this weird stealth system. If you manage to creep up behind an enemy before they see you, you can instant kill them. Now, the reason this feels just so underbaked is because pretty much towards the halfway point of the game, they start to introduce enemies that have no eyes. And I mean, basically they seem half deaf as well. I chain killed so many of these dudes. I could just stealth kill again and again and again, because stealth kill is completely silent, it seems like. It does not alert the other enemies. It doesn't cause any downside. It is a free instant kill. And stuff like this just almost seems counterintuitive. Am I supposed to be scared? That is a question I asked so many times throughout the course of Callisto Protocol. What part of this is supposed to be terrifying? Is there any specific part of this that was intended to try and creep me out or unnerve me? Because it never really felt like that horror ever connects, because every fight feels so scripted, so easy. It's just dodge, dodge, hit, dodge, dodge, hit. And then even if you have to stealth kill or shoot a little tiny bit, it doesn't really feel that advanced. Oh yeah, Jacob also gets like a telekinesis glove. So in case you weren't overpowered enough, you can't just straight up pluck things out of the environment. You can just grab different boxes, explosive barrels, or even enemies and just shove them into huge mechanical cheese graters that are all over the place. This game is not just too easy, it's not scary because it's just so easy. Even when I managed to die or screwed up, I missed a dodge and I get bad animation of somebody ripping my face off, it always felt like I just misplayed. It never felt like the enemies were spooky or scary or that dangerous. Everything in this game just feels like, oh, did you press left stick fast enough? Well then congrats, you're going to keep fighting for another day. But that does bring me to the final part of this that I feel like is incredibly important, which is the visual presentation. I do think that Callisto Protocol is gorgeous. I think the audio design is fantastic as well. I think a lot of times that cool gooiness to the enemies moving around, even in different parts of the station, the cries of help that you occasionally hear, finding the audio logs where sometimes you'll hear the previous records of the scientists, the doctors, or even the incarcerated prisoners themselves. I think that is such a great touch. It does feel like this is a very living world. But again, this brings me to the downside of this, which is the fact that a lot of stuff in the environment is repeated. Like you can see times right here, this is the same piece of graffiti again and again and again. It says, "Don't make sound." It's painted in the exact same style every single time, which makes it not seem natural. It's very immersion breaking to see the same fake graffiti stamped again and again. Even stuff like this that's very, very dramatic, like cut off the tentacles. All right, that's cool. That's spooky. But then you go to a different part and suddenly they just have the exact same lettering in a different spot. Like a lot of times it feels like this game feels like it's trying to remind you that you're just sitting in a dark room with a controller in your hand. You can never believe the fear. You can never feel that immersion finally consume you. It's always so painfully obvious that this is a very video game. There's even a lot of small details that to me just seem so out of place. Like at one point I was walking along and I noticed all these like recruitment posters like, "Hey, come become a cop." But this is on a planet of cops. I mean, this literally, I do not understand. Maybe I'm missing the point, but this feels like a "we're hiring" poster at Walmart inside the break room of Walmart. The only people that would see this already have the job. Like stuff like this, again and again, Callisto Protocol feels like it wants to be Dead Space 2. It feels like it's trying to be that big, lived-in world that's packed with monsters that you want to stomp on. But it just feels like a big step down from the efforts we know the studio for best. I gotta say, I am genuinely disappointed. I am seriously sad that this game isn't better. But now that we've heard some good and some bad, let's go over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Callisto Protocol a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Seriously, I appreciate the crazy amount of likes and views. The channel has been really, really popping off this week, especially. I love you guys very much. Man, I really wish this game was a notch above. I guess I'll probably beat it one more time on hard mode. I finished this game in 9 hours. So, you know what? I bet I could probably beat it even on the hardest difficulty. It's probably not going to take me very long. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.